Greetings, Internet faithful. I'm some guy named Rob from On Your Marks Wrestling, and this is Rob Recaps 205 Live for Tuesday, May the 1st, 2018. We kick off the final live show from Montreal, Quebec, Canada with a tag team match between Hideo Itami and Akira Tozawa versus the Brian Kendrick, just so you know that you're not getting any old Brian Kendrick coming to the ring in Montreal, but the genuine article, and his partner Jack Gallagher. We get a little bit of the backstory between these two teams, where you had Tommy who injured Brian Kendrick's orbital with a GTS several weeks ago. You also got to see a replay of the end of the Itami Tozawa versus Lucha House Party tag team match, where there was a miscommunication between between Itami and Tozawa, which led to them being defeated. I wonder if that's going to play into this match. The match itself actually took a little bit of time to get going. It was a little slow to start, but kept picking up its pace as it went along, which was really, really nice. It was nice that it didn't start off hot and then have that big lull in the middle and then build towards something. It just sort of started off a little bit slower and then kind of built and built and built and built. And go figure, there is a miscommunication between Itami and Tozawa. Tozawa is climbing up to the top rope. Itami ends up running into the rope, which causes Tozawa to fall. Gallagher hits a stiff headbutt right into the sternum or jaw area of Tozawa, picks up the 3 count. After the match, Itami, who basically had the same facial expression throughout the entire match, he basically looked like he was really pissed that his credit card got declined at the merch table. That's that kind of seething, like, what do you mean my credit card was rejected? I mean, if you go back and look at it, it's sort of a look of inconvenience, irritation at a minor inconvenience that's being sort of blown out of proportion. But anyway, he refuses to shake hands with his partner. He kind of slaps away the hand, walks out of the ring in disgust. Tozawa is sort of sitting in the ring, looking at the crowd, looking kind of confused, wondering what the hell he did wrong. And the segment just sort of ends there. We then get a recap of the situation with Buddy Murphy missing weight a few weeks ago and having to forfeit his championship opportunity for the Greatest Royal Rumble. We then cut to a more recent weigh-in where he does make weight and just sort of looks in disgust at Drake Maverick and says, "I want my title shot," and walks out as Drake looks on with something of a perplexed look on his face. Drake Maverick joins the announce team to watch Buddy Murphy take on a local enhancement talent. And this match was short, sweet, but did not end in a way that it should have. This was meant to show that Buddy Murphy has an extreme mean streak going. He is extraordinarily upset. He is on the rampage, and he's just going to take out everybody who's in his way between him and the Cruiserweight Championship. So what ended up happening was he got this guy, Liam Louie, I believe his name was, picked him up and powerbombed him, and then just kept picking him up out of the powerbomb and slamming him again and again to the mat. Then he sort of held him down for a 2 count. As the referee was going to count the 3, Buddy Murphy sort of like walked off and said, "Nope, I'm not going to complete the pin," because he wanted to inflict more damage. But nothing actually happens. The only thing that happens is maybe about 30 seconds later, you get the bell ringing and they're announcing that Buddy Murphy won the match, which was a little odd the way that they did it. Now, the whole premise of the way that they ended this match was that Buddy Murphy basically beat his opponent to the point where he could no longer defend himself, and so the referee stopped the match in order to protect the competitor. There are 2 things with this. One, that was never properly expressed by the ring announcer to the audience in attendance. That's something that you would want to put out and say, the referee has decided to stop the match because the competitor is no longer able to defend himself, winner by submission, blah, blah, blah. The second thing is that what they should have had Buddy Murphy do was the initial, I think he did 3 power bombs before going for the pin. Instead of just shoving him off and saying, "No, I'm not going to finish the count," they should have had Buddy Murphy pick him up again and powerbomb him again. 1, 2, pick him up, powerbomb him again, 1, 2, and then have the referee, at one point after one of these powerbombs just say, "You know what, he can't defend himself, ring the bell," and then do an explanation saying, because the competitor can no longer defend himself, here is your winner as a result of a submission, technical submission, whatever it is that you want to do. It would have made things a lot better. It would have made Buddy Murphy look a lot more brutal, first of all. And the second thing is it would have made it a lot easier for the announcer team to sell that sort of storyline that Buddy Murphy is on this rampage and that he is going to do whatever it takes to basically destroy anyone who is standing between him and a cruiserweight championship. Following the match, as Buddy Murphy is walking towards the back, he gets about 3/4 of the way up the ramp, and out comes Cedric Alexander. The two of them brawl. Buddy Murphy lands a kick on Alexander to kind of break and disengage so he can run, like the cowardly heel, to the backstage area. So it looks like they are definitely setting up for Cedric Alexander versus Buddy Murphy. I don't know if they're going to do this right away at Backlash or if they're going to wait for another pay-per-view, like the next pay-per-view in line. Or maybe they'll do it on an episode of 205 Live, who knows, but it looks like this is definitely something that they're working toward. We then get a recap of the ending of the gauntlet match prior to the Greatest Royal Rumble, where we saw Kalisto beat Drew Gulak to go on to meet Cedric Alexander at the Greatest Royal Rumble. Gulak immediately challenges Kalisto to a rematch, and we show Kalisto accepting it backstage. The match itself in the ring as the main event was not actually, well, it was not as bad as I was expecting. And one of the reasons why I had somewhat low expectations for this match was when you get a high flyer versus a technical submission guy, the match tends to follow a really odd structure. You get a really, really fast-paced intro, and then things just plod along. And it's really dull to watch, and it's really hard to pay attention. It's really tough to get invested because it just moves at such a glacial pace. Like, glaciers actually move faster than these matches typically when they get into that lull, and then things pick up again because the high flyer will get the momentum back, and then you get that momentum swing, and then it goes into whatever the finish is going to be it a quick hit of a submission or technical power move, or it's going to be a high fly move that ends the match. Now, don't get me wrong, this match followed that formula pretty much to the letter. What saved it from being a bore fest, at least to me, was that it was a very, very measured type of offense from Drew Gulak. And also there were a lot of transitions. It was a transition from one submission hold into a different submission hold, into a third submission hold, lather, rinse, repeat, and the transition into the various submission holds, first of all, impressive that there are that many variations on these holds that Gulak is able to use. It's nice to see when a technical wrestler really opens up the toy box and puts on display everything that they know. The other thing is when things started to get to that point where when you really thought it was going to dip into the, okay, this is dragging along, this is really starting to get boring, that's when they break out the psychological bit with Gulak trying to rip off the luchador mask, which of course is the hugest of no-nos in lucha wrestling. It is the basis of the identity of the wrestler, and that's what turns into the turning point of the match and brings the momentum back to Kalisto. And another thing that made that interesting and actually entertaining was once Kalisto got the momentum back, he didn't act like he was at 100% and going full tilt, full out with every move, working at perfect operational order. He was still selling the offense that Gulak had earlier in the match. So there was still some good ring psychology there. Ultimately, it ends up with Salisto del Sol being turned into the Gulak, and Kalisto is forced to tap out. We have Drew Gulak just sort of leaving the ring and slowly walking up the ramp as the rest of the Lucha House Party come out to check on Kalisto, and the show goes off the air. Overall, I thought the show was very solid. I thought it was a good episode. I was entertained by it. At no point was I looking to see, oh god, how much longer is there left in the show, or when the hell are we going to get to the next bit of action, like I was when I was watching SmackDown. The crowd behaved. They were actually, when they had a chant, they were actually able to unify it like they weren't able to do for SmackDown. For some stupid reason, the Montreal crowd couldn't get their shit together long enough to get a proper AJ Styles chant together. Like, really? This is one of the easiest chants that you can do, and the Montreal crowd completely screwed it up? And for the record, it's my hometown, but it doesn't mean that I love the city or its people. So take that for what it is. I have some friends there, and I love them dearly, but there are a lot of people in Montreal that, I'm glad I never have to see again. And I'm guessing a lot of them were in the SmackDown crowd. Anyway, That is 205 Live for this week. Keep it dialed in. We will have the NXT review for you later on tonight, hopefully. If not, it'll be up sometime early-ish tomorrow. And until next time, take it easy.